Property in many countries is becoming a bubble. If you go to Korea or New Zealand or many parts of America, property is in a bubble. It's clear, very, very clear. To know what's going on. So if you know what's going on, you're going to get worried. And if you get worried, you'll get prepared. And then you might come out of all of this okay. I mean, there were people in the 30s who came out rich out of the 30s. Most, of course, lost everything. Now, as far as assets, well, if you look around the world, bonds are definitely in a bubble. Bonds have never been this expensive in the history of the world. Never in history have bonds been this expensive. Property in many countries is becoming a bubble. If you go to Korea or New Zealand or many parts of America, property is in a bubble. It's clear, it's very, very clear. If you look at stocks, many stocks are becoming a bubble. Samsung goes up every day. Apple goes up every day. Tencent goes up every day. Not everything. The reason I'm not getting out of the stock market is because there's still many stocks that haven't gone up. Once everything is in the bubble, I mean, I see signs of a stock market bubble developing, then we'll have to get out. The only thing that's not in a bubble are commodities. I mean, Mark, silver's down 50% from its all-time high. Sugar's down 70% from its all-time high. Oil is down 50% from its all-time high. These are not bubble kind of numbers. So commodities are the cheapest asset class. But if you don't know anything about commodities, please do not start investing in commodities. For goodness sakes, if you want to survive all of this, stay with what you know, nothing else. Don't listen to me or some guy you see on the internet. Maybe you can listen to Marcy, but don't listen to most people. But unless you really know what you're doing, do nothing. Well, now you can buy commodity ETFs listed on the stock exchange, so it's a little bit simpler. You don't have to go and buy cotton futures anymore. I mean, you can buy some ETFs, and that makes it a lot simpler. But if there's inflation, that means the price of shirts goes up. Well, if you own cotton, you make money. You know, if the price of bread goes up, well, if you own wheat, you make money. You survive and you make money when something like that happens. But again, you must do your homework. You must be prepared. You must know what you're doing. Mark, it is different. America is the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. We have never been the largest debtor nation in the history of the world before. And I will, back to what I said, every country that's gotten into this situation eventually has had a crisis or a semi-crisis. I don't like saying it. I will repeat, it's good to be an old American. It is not good to be a young American in 2025, 2030, to know what's going on. So if you know what's going on, you're going to get worried. And if you get worried, you'll get prepared. And then you might come out of all of this okay. I mean, there were people in the 30s who came out rich out of the 30s. Most, of course, lost everything. But if you know what's going on and you're prepared, many crises have happened in world history and many people have come out of them very, very successful. So just do your research, know what's happening, and stay with what you know, and maybe you'll come out rich. I hope I come out solvent. I hope I come out rich, but at least solvent, if nothing. About history, when you've had staggering amounts of money printing, it's always led to inflation. Now, maybe it's different this time. The Treasury Secretary, who has 2 Ivy League degrees, says, don't worry, we have it under control. We're not going to have economic problems ever again. Well, if you believe her with her Ivy League degrees, then don't worry, don't worry. I happen to have read a lot of history, and I know we're going to have many more problems. I know that inflation is coming back. It's going to get worse. It won't go straight up. Nothing goes straight up or straight down. But inflation is coming back all over the world, and it's going to get worse. We don't have to pay for it. Unfortunately, I've got young children, and the problems they are going to inherit are going to be staggering. You know, in the 1920s, the UK was the richest, most powerful country in the world. There was no number 2. 50 years later, they were bankrupt.
Yeah.
IMF had to fly into Heathrow to London Airport and bail them out. That happened from number one with no second to bankrupt in 50 years. That when you get deep in debt, you cannot grow as fast, maybe short term, but you cannot because you got this debt hanging over your shoulder. I mean, this is simple history. These are simple facts. I don't particularly like it. You know, we're all American voters, taxpayer, and everything else, but still, facts are facts. Well, I was sitting in New York working on Wall Street. Woodstock took place. I heard about it, read about it, raced and jumped on my motorcycle, and the highways were closed. Everything was closed because it was a serious emergency, you know. Nobody had any idea. They sold 15,000 tickets, and suddenly 500,000 people showed up. They tore down the fences and everything. I rode my motorcycle right up to the stage, crawled under the fence, and it was a hot day. And the security guard, I mean, everybody was volunteering at this point. And so I put on a security jacket. Well, I hope your son sorts it out before I get Parkinson's, before we all get Parkinson's. Mark, you mentioned before that there was a $28 trillion debt. That's what's on the books. Off the books, it's a couple of hundred. Well, I am delighted that your son is dealing with the Parkinson's problem, but somebody's got to deal with the debt problem. I mean, your son he's still young.
Yeah.
He and my children are going to have a gigantic, horrible problem to deal with. I mean, I've seen many countries get into this situation and they all go into decline. I mean, I don't like saying it, but it has happened repeatedly throughout history. Nobody's ever gotten this deep in debt and come out and said, oh, let's spend some more money. And we'll solve the problem of too much debt with more debt.
Yeah.
Never worked in history. Yes. But one of the problems, Marzi, is that most people don't learn the lessons of history.
Right.
You know, you can sit and tell them this is history, and first of all, they don't care and they don't listen and they don't understand. And even if they do say it doesn't matter, it's different this time. Or they say, I'm smarter than history. I can deal with it. Well, I'm not smarter than history. Well, as I say, if people will do their research and figure and learn, get some knowledge about what's going on, they will get worried. And then hopefully if they get worried, like the two of you, they will start doing something about it instead of just saying, oh, don't worry, it'll be hope. We have an Ivy League Treasury Secretary. Don't worry, everything will be okay.